Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how this works? It's just you, me, and a deep dive into something that's probably been bugging you. Literally in this case.
Yeah, today we're tackling cockroaches.
That's right. But we're not going to rehash the usual stuff about pest control. I mean, everyone knows cockroaches are tough to get rid of, but
We're going deeper.
way deeper. Like, how have these things survived for hundreds of millions of years? Seriously. They were here before the dinosaurs, right?
Oh, yeah, way before. Over 300 million years. We're talking multiple mass extinction events. They just kept on going.
Talk about resilience. Makes you feel kind of, I don't know, insignificant. Like, we think we're so great, but cockroaches have seen it all.
They've definitely got a thing or two to teach us about adaptation, that's for sure.
And speaking of adaptation, there's that whole thing about cockroaches surviving without their heads. I mean, is that real or just an urban legend?
It's definitely real, but maybe not as dramatic as people think.
What do you mean?
Well, they don't live for years without their heads, but they can survive for about a week.
A week? Still, how is that even possible?
Okay, so first, you gotta understand their circulatory system. It's open, unlike ours.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly?
It means they don't bleed out like we would. They breathe through these little holes called spiracles along their bodies, not just their heads. So even without a head, they can still get oxygen.
No head, no problem. So if you can't just chop off their heads, how do you actually kill them then?
Dehydration, basically.
So they just shrivel up.
Pretty much. Without a mouth to drink, they can't survive forever.
Makes you appreciate that glass of water, right? So we've busted the myth about them living forever without a head. What about that other big one? Cockroaches surviving a nuclear blast. Can they really handle that much radiation?
They're definitely more resistant than us, that's for sure. It has to do with how often their cells reproduce, which is way less than ours, making them less susceptible to radiation damage.
So if the big one hits, it's cockroaches inheriting the Earth. Not exactly a comforting thought.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Radiation resistance is impressive, but it doesn't make them invincible. They'd still face other challenges in a post-apocalyptic world.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on to something a bit less apocalyptic. Speed. Seriously, have you ever tried to catch a cockroach? It's like they have warp drive.
They can move pretty fast for their size, around 3 miles per hour, not quite warp speed, but
Still. And then they disappear into some tiny crack before you can even blink. I swear their flat bodies are designed for those impossible escapes.
exactly. It's a major part of their survival strategy. That flat shape lets them squeeze into practically any space.
Speedy and sneaky, that's a winning combo for survival.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about what keeps these little speedsters going. Their diet. I've heard they'll eat pretty much anything.
Pretty much. They're not picky at all. They'll eat food scraps, crumbs, you name it. Even stuff we find disgusting, like decaying matter, glue, even paper.
Okay, that's both impressive and kind of gross. I guess after millions of years, you learn to make the most of any food source. So does that tie into them being nocturnal? I mean, is that why they come out mostly at night?
You got it. They prefer the cover of darkness to scavenge for food and water. That's why they scatter when you suddenly flip on the lights.
Yeah, classic cockroach behavior. Speaking of behavior, they're social creatures too, right?
Yeah.
Like hanging out in big cockroach families in my walls, probably gossiping about the best crumbs they found that day.
Ah.
Maybe not gossiping, but they do live in groups and communicate through these chemical signals called pheromones. It's not as complex as, say, an ant colony, but still pretty interesting.
Okay, so maybe not full-blown cockroach civilization, but still not what I want to think about when I go to sleep at night. And it's not just the creepiness, right? These guys can actually be harmful to us.
That's right. Since they like to hang out in less than sanitary places, they can pick up and spread bacteria that cause diseases, like
Salmonella, staphylococcus, things like that. Plus, their droppings and shed body parts can trigger allergies and even asthma. So, yeah, not the best house guests.
definitely good reasons to keep them out of the house.
Yeah.
But here's something I find fascinating, even after all this talk about how gross they are. Some people actually keep certain cockroaches as pets.
Yep, it's true. The Madagascar hissing cockroach is a popular one.
Seriously. Why would anyone want a hissing cockroach as a pet?
Well, as much as most people find them creepy, others are drawn to their resilience and unique adaptations. Those hisses are kind of cool too, I guess. It's a niche interest, but it goes to show that there's always something to appreciate in the natural world, even in the most unexpected places.
So the bottom line is that cockroaches are more than just creepy crawlies we find in the kitchen late at night. They're incredibly resilient creatures with a history that goes way back, even before the dinosaurs. and they've managed to survive everything life has thrown at them, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. For me, the most mind-blowing thing about cockroaches is their potential for what we call biomimicry. Scientists are studying them to see if we can learn from their incredible adaptations, especially in terms of resisting radiation and extreme temperatures.
That's wild. What could we learn from them?
I mean, imagine materials inspired by cockroaches that could protect us from radiation or withstand the harsh conditions of space. It's not science fiction. Researchers are actually exploring those possibilities.
Wow. Cockroach-powered spaceships. Now that's something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cockroaches, everyone.
Mm.
We've gone from ew to wow, and maybe even back to you a few times. But hopefully you learned something new and gained a new appreciation for these fascinating, albeit sometimes creepy, creatures.
And hey, if you see a cockroach scuttling by tonight, maybe give it a little nod of respect for its 300 million year legacy.
Just maybe keep a safe distance. Until next time.